Hey everyone, my name is Justin Ferris and I'm the group manager for the Plan Stage here at GitLab. I thought I'd take some time today to share some of our vision and direction for the stage. This is meant to be a really high level overview. I'll be linking a lot more detail and information below, and I'd encourage you to review and feel free and ask questions and contribute. So let's dive in. First, a bit of an overview. I'd like to cover four areas that kind of talks about this vision and kind of framing of where we're thinking about this. The first one is just what is plan? What problem are we out trying to solve? And kind of how does that relate to the market? The second one is jobs to be done. So we've stepped back and really thought about the problems our customers face from a holistic perspective, and I'd love to dig into that a little bit more. We'll do a quick overview of where we're at today, and then a look into the future of where we're going. Okay, let's dive in. So what is plan? Plan, as I think about it, is really broader than one single thing. And I really think of it in the context of the entire DevOps lifecycle. Our vision at GitLab is to build a single application that meets the needs of that entire lifecycle. So when you put plan in that context, it's really much broader than what you might think of in the market today. And here at GitLab, we have this unique ability to tie many tools together and activities into a single application that enables teams to be more efficient, effective in delivering value to their customers. But for today, I'm going to focus on only one part of the DevOps lifecycle, and that's, of course, plan. Now, you'll note I have two parts of our loop here in color. First one is red, being the plan section, and then the other one is the tail that leads into that. Now, when I think of it, and you ask any good product manager, they're going to tell you that no plan happens in isolation. It requires many inputs, hundreds of inputs, to come up with a really effective plan. Now, fortunately at GitLab, some of those most valuable inputs are already existing in the product. That tail can represent inputs from many sources, such as application monitors, analytics events, or customer feedback tracked directly in issues. So just keep that context in mind as we dive into the problems a little bit more deeply that plan aims to solve and how GitLab can support that. So when you think about plan, sort of planning tools in the market, there's some common terms and tools that exist out there, right? You may have an issue tracker. You may be practicing Scrum or some form of Agile in your methodology. You probably use issue boards. There's project and status reporting, lots of different things, lots of different tools that customers have deployed in their organizations to sort of solve these problems. As you look at the market, there's a lot of customers, a lot of competitors out there, that have built solutions that match these phrases, right? So, Jira is a big one. They've been an incumbent for a long time. They're a really robust product and they do a lot of these things, right? But when we were thinking about this and we discussed them as a team, we realized we ought to step back and think more about the problems our teams face, the customers that are using GitLab, how they face those from a primitive perspective. So we came up with some jobs to be done to help us illustrate those problems that product managers, engineers, and others face as they hire these tools today. So let's talk about jobs to be done. Now, if you're unfamiliar with jobs to be done, I'd encourage you to sort of search online and learn a bit more about this. We think is a really powerful tool to help understand sort of the needs that a customer has and how we ought to build better products. But for now, I thought I'd give you a really quick overview. So, close your mind for a second, close your eyes for a second, put yourself in the position of maybe a car dealer. Let's say you sell cars. And now you ask yourself, well, why is my customer coming to purchase a car from me? Is it because they love cars? Or maybe they have a general affinity for automobiles? Well, maybe, but in reality, that demand comes from a much deeper place. In reality, what's happening is the customer likely just needs to get from point A to point B. That's the job that a car does, right? And prior to purchasing a car, they may have hired something else to fulfill that job for them. Maybe they rode public transportation, or maybe a bicycle, or maybe a horse, right? But something has happened somewhere along the line that triggered them to find a better solution for that job. It's possible they move somewhere where the bus or bicycle doesn't quite do the job as well anymore, or they've expanded their family and they need a more robust solution. Either way, as you look at this sort of example, this metaphor, the job itself actually hasn't changed. The customer has always needed to get from point A to point B. But our expectations, customers' expectation of what a successful job well done is only increased over time. So if you think about in the context of plan, that's the same thing, right? A customer needs an effective way to plan, to sort of execute on work, to help take an idea, a strategy, an initiative, and deliver value to their customer. But the expectations have only increased over the years and over time. So as we talked about this as a team, we uncovered 5 primary jobs that we believe software teams hire out solutions for today. So let's dig into those. The first one is mapping business and portfolio plans to market opportunities. So how do I tie what's happening in the market, what my customers need, what's shifting in the business, and my portfolio plans, my collection of initiatives or features or products that I'm building to those opportunities? How do I sort of manage that all together? Next one is plan and collaborate on value delivery. So how do I take my plan, collaborating with different functions within my organization, and help deliver value to my customers in a more efficient way? Third one, report on output. So my team is going and executing on work. They're doing a great job. How to report on that job? How do I report on the work they're doing? Are they actually delivering? Are there defects? How fast is it? Et cetera, et cetera. 4, improve output process. So now that I can report on output and I'm effective in planning and collaborating, how do I improve that process so I'm delivering value in a more efficient way? And then finally, number 5, report on outcomes. So ultimately, it's not about how many lines of code you deliver to the customer. It's the value that customer receives from the product you've delivered to them, right? So it's the outcome. So I need to be able to effectively report on that outcome so that my business can make effective decisions, changes, pivots in the right direction as they react to those results. Okay, so those are our jobs to be done. Next thing I want to talk about is just quickly, where are we at? What does that look like? What offerings do we have today? You may be familiar with a lot of this, so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. And again, I'll link to all these things below. So, GitLab's great. We've captured all of our directions and categories and roadmaps on GitLab itself. So you can actually dig into this and unpack this detail in a lot more detail than I'm going to walk through today, but we'll talk about it quickly. So we've divided the plan stage in sort of 3 different groups: project management, portfolio management, and certify. And each of those groups, we have different categories. And so those categories today are things like issue tracking or Kanban boards, epics roadmaps, requirements management. Each of these categories sort of today meet a specific need we've identified over the years that our customers find value in. And additionally, we have these sort of, I call them features or capabilities. They're kind of shared features that span across these groups and in a lot of cases across a lot of different groups at GitLab, even outside of the plan stage. Things like issuables and labels, time boxes, to-dos, all of these components kind of make up sort of the planning tools that exist today in GitLab. Another great thing about GitLab is we talk a lot about our maturity, both in where we've come so far, how long it's taken us to mature these different categories, and then our projections or sort of maturity plans as we move forward. And so I encourage you to look at these on GitLab. And I'll link to these below. But you'll see here, we have ambitious goals and we expect by this time next year to actually significantly mature most of our categories, some of which will become what we believe are lovable, and in other cases, complete. So we're really excited about this and really ambitious. And I'd like to kind of dig into this a little bit more. What does that maturity really mean? And kind of stepping back even beyond a year, where do we think we might be able to go? So let's talk about that. So where are we going? We've laid a really strong foundation, first of all. So I'm thrilled with what the team's accomplished over the years. I haven't been at GitLab that long, to be honest, and it's amazing what they've delivered so far. So we have this really strong foundation. What can we do now as we build on top of that? So I've kind of picked 3 things here. There's more, but I thought these 3 things were really interesting, and we can talk about how we believe that these 3 things can help us leapfrog current solutions that customers hire today, going from, say, the bicycle to the automobile, right? Using that example from earlier. So let's start with the first one, bridging the gap between the work on the ground and the business strategy. So we really think we can help our customers sort of bridge this gap. And oftentimes when you look at this relationship between these 2 groups, the leadership team and the individual contributors, sort of the business strategy and the work on the ground, can feel like they're on either side of a chasm. On one side, the leadership team is evaluating market conditions. They're doing longer term strategic planning, maybe setting quarterly OKRs or planning targets, doing activities like that. On the other side, the team is trying to execute against that strategy, focus on delivering value to customers as quickly as possible and adapting the needs of the business. But the challenge here is that there's this giant chasm between them. And sometimes that communication between these 2 groups feels like it happens on a single thread. Instructions are sent in one direction, like objectives and goals or assigning initiatives, and responses come back sometime later. It can be wildly inefficient and exponentially slow to the value delivery of the business. Now, at GitLab, we believe we can actually optimize that flow and make it more of a flow than a sort of a single directional piece of communication. We can provide a solution through our single application that ties together those strategic planning pieces, portfolio management, value stream optimization, all in a single place that gives visibility and predictability into the delivery and line of sight of individual contributors. So that way an individual contributor knows that how their work is impacting the business and how it's aligned with the value of the business. And meanwhile, the leadership team or the team that's setting the business strategy can really understand timelines, how effective their strategy is, how their customers are reacting to that strategy. So we're really excited about this. The next area is talking about empowering teams to optimize that value exchange with customers. So as teams execute against those initiatives, they're often left asking a couple of questions. First one is, did the customer find value in the thing we delivered? Did we do it? And then the second one is, did we do it fast enough for our customer and for our business? And they often think of this through the lens of time to value, or how long does it take from the beginning of your product development process, say when the feature request comes in, or sort of the business strategy is set and the initiatives are decided upon, then ultimately to when a customer realizes the value of the change you made. And the question you ask yourself is like, how can I decrease or reduce that time to value? How can I become more efficient? And there's really kind of two variables that you can manipulate to improve that time to value. One is speed up. So just go faster. Increase the efficiency of the work you're doing through your workflows, optimize and execute. And this is a common one that you see teams deploy today. How can we reduce, wasted effort? How can we effectively measure our cycle time? How do we find sort of bottlenecks, blockers, gaps in our process? How do we improve the speed? And that's certainly a viable mechanism to improve that time to value. The other one they might think of is, am I doing the right work? Can I do more impactful work? So it's really about optimizing the value stream towards higher value activities. So if I spend most of my time in a given value stream, fixing defects, well, okay, that's important, but why am I spending so much time fixing defects? Are we creating more defects? Can I do more impactful work to reduce my time spent on that so that I can deliver more value to my customer? Or am I just frankly working on the wrong things? My customer's asking for X and I'm working on Y, right? Being able to have that signal back into the cycle is really critical to improve this one. So at GitLab, we really think we have an opportunity to layer on sort of deeper and deeper insights here by harnessing the power of that connected tool chain. So we can surface those insights today with sort of better analytics or real-time reporting on as teams plan and execute on work. And we're working on a lot of those things today. But down the road, you may see us deploy things like machine learning or AI that enables teams to really see around the corner as they deliver more value to their customers. Last one I want to talk about today is the ability to sort of easily document and manage requirements and quality across systems. So when you look at this today, there are many teams out there that need to manage and document requirements or have sort of test functions beyond the build or runtime tests that you see within organizations. Now, these often have challenges when they exist in silos, and it's common that the person defining the test suite or requirement set works adjacent to the team delivering the work and code. Now, this creates a challenging back and forth where teams will often deploy many tools that have to be carefully wired together, or worse, like analyzed offline, right? So this also makes traceability really challenging without manual effort or complex tool chains. So, on one side, I'm working in a silo and I've defined a set of requirements, working with my customer or regulatory body, and then I'm handing those requirements off and validating those eventually against the code that's written or the software that's been developed, right? If I'm doing it with tests, I sort of have maybe a test process that I run through, but I have to do that in isolation, right? And it's really challenging to manage those things together. So at GitLab, we really believe in breaking down those silos, and we can help create a direct connection between the requirement or test suite and the development team. So this can enable teams to operate more efficiently with a lot less effort to certify a given application. So you can even automate things like traceability or a test suite by connecting automation and manual tests into a single view, or automating the validation of a given set of requirements throughout the system. So to wrap things up, these are just three really powerful examples of how we'll be able to harness a robust planning tool embedded directly into the single DevOps application with GitLab. I've been impressed with how much the team has accomplished so far and the direction they're going. They've contributed a lot to this content and to our overall direction and strategy so far. So I'd really encourage you to go, follow the links below in the description, spend some time reading our direction, and please contribute and offer feedback where you see it. We love your input and we really value it as we go and figure out how to execute against this vision. So thanks for watching. Again, let us know if you have questions and feedback. Have a great day.